Every night, you perform the most mysterious act in the universe, and you don't even realize it. You lie down, close your eyes, and then you vanish. Not your body, not your breath, but you, the one who thinks, worries, plans, remembers, simply disappears. And here's what will disturb you. You have absolutely no idea where you go. Tonight, when you surrender to sleep, you'll dissolve into something so profound, so utterly beyond your daily understanding, that if you truly grasp what happens, you'd never take consciousness for granted again. But we've been conditioned to treat this daily death and resurrection as ordinary. How fascinating that the most extraordinary journey you'll ever take happens every single night, and you've been sleepwalking through it your entire life. Now, let's begin with something rather unsettling. Every evening, you perform what amounts to voluntary suicide. Oh, don't worry. I'm not being dramatic. I'm being precise. Think about it. What you call yourself, this chattering, thinking, experiencing being, willingly steps into oblivion. You see, we've become so accustomed to this nightly disappearance that we've stopped noticing how absolutely extraordinary it is. Your thoughts stop. Your sense of time evaporates. Your precious identity, all memories and concerns you so tightly, dissolves. And yet,
somehow, mysteriously, something continues. From
The entire thing was about to swallow the whole thing.
you're given a demonstration of what the Buddhists call the void, that space of pure being that exists when the ego takes a holiday. But here's what's truly fascinating. We treat this daily miracle as though it were nothing more than maintenance. Like charging a battery or defragmenting a computer, how wonderfully we've managed to make the mystical mundane. Now, let's examine this disappearing act more closely. What exactly vanishes when you fall asleep? Your name doesn't matter anymore. Your job, your relationships, behind your eyes, the witness, who's designing the sets, and most mysteriously, because there's a clear difference between 8 hours of deep sleep and 8 hours of tossing and turning. But if there was truly nothing there, how could there be any qualitative difference at all? This is what I call the deep sleep paradox. Pure being without any content whatsoever. Existence without experience. Consciousness without an object to be conscious of. It's like a theater with the lights on. The audience gone, the actors departed, yet somehow mysteriously gone. The mystics have a word for this state. Call it the causal body, the most fundamental level of your being. It's you without any qualities, you without any attributes, you without even the sense of being. Pure existence, aware of itself, without needing to think about it. What's shocking is that you visit this state of perfect peace, perfect wholeness, perfect being, every single night. The very thing you're searching for in meditation.
in philosophy, you experience it naturally.
Every time you fall into deep sleep. The cosmic joke is that enlightenment puts you to sleep. Now we're approaching something that might disturb your carefully constructed sense of self. Because what sleep reveals is this. Consciousness doesn't need you to exist. Think about it carefully. Every night, your personal life, your history, your personality, your preferences completely disappears. And yet awareness itself continues. It's like discovering that the light in your room doesn't actually belong to the lamp. The lamp just temporarily shapes and a light that exists. Your sleep, conscious flows freely, uncontained by the boundaries of your ego. It's no longer your consciousness, it's simply consciousness itself, playing through the instrument of your nervous system like wind through a flute. The flute doesn't own the wind, it just gives it temporary form and melody. This is what the ancients meant when they spoke of the universal mind, the cosmic consciousness, the Buddha nature. They weren't talking about some grand, otherworldly concept. They were pointing to what you experience every single night when your individual awareness dissolves back into the ocean of pure being. And here's what's both beautiful and terrifying about this realization. What you call your consciousness was never really yours to begin with. You're not a separate being having conscious experiences. Your consciousness itself, temporarily dreaming that it's a separate being. The wave isn't separate from the ocean. It's the ocean expressing itself as a wave. And every night, in sleep, you return to your oceanic nature. You become what you have always been, but temporarily forgot you were. Now, let's examine something equally mysterious. How you manage to reassemble yourself each morning. Because that's what happens, isn't it? After hours of complete dissolution, somehow all the pieces of your identity magically come back together again. Watch this process carefully the next time you wake up. First, there's just pure awareness. No sense of being anyone in particular. No memory of yesterday. No anticipation of today. Just consciousness awakening to itself, like the first light of dawn. Then, gradually, the familiar structures begin to reassemble. John, I live in this house. I have this job. I was worried about this future. Layer by layer, memory by memory, the psychological self rebuilds itself from what? From nothing but pure potential. It's like personality out of a hat. The most fascinating part? You do this reconstruction so automatically, so unconsciously, that you never stop to wonder who is doing the rebuilding. If you were truly gone during sleep, who remembers how to put you back together? If your identity was genuinely dissolved, what force knows exactly which thoughts, which memories, which personality traits belong to you, is less than hash zero. 5 hash is greater than. The answer is both simple and profound. The same intelligence that grows your hair, beats your heart, and digests your food. The same wisdom that knows exactly how to transform a seed into a flower without any concept on a seed path. Your ego doesn't reconstruct itself, it's reconstructed by a far deeper intelligence that you rarely acknowledge. Now we arrive at a truly shocking realization. Everything I've been describing about sleep, the dissolution of identity, the flow of consciousness without a container, the mysterious intelligence that operates without your supervision. This isn't just happening at night. It's happening right now in what you call your waking life. You see, the only difference between sleeping consciousness and waking consciousness is that in waking, there's the persistent illusion of someone in charge. The ego steps forward and claims ownership of power. I am thinking these thoughts. I am making these decisions. I am living this life. But look more closely. Did you decide to have that thought that just occurred to you? Did you choose to fall in love? Or did it happen to you? Do you control your heartbeat, your digestion, your immune system? Are you actively managing the incredible complexity of your cellular metabolism right now? The same mysterious intelligence that operates during sleep, creating dreams, maintaining the body, organizing memory, is operating right now. You're just not giving it credit because the ego is convinced that you're the one running the show. But what if I told you that waking life is just another kind of dream? A dream in which consciousness dreams. It's a separate individual, having experiences, making choices, living a life. A dream so convincing that the dreamer completely forgets their dream. The mystics have always known this. That's why they speak of awakening. Not awakening from sleep, but awakening from the dream of being a separate self. Awakening to what you discover every night in deep sleep. That you are not a person having consciousness, but consciousness itself, playing at being. What I've been sharing with you isn't new. The ancient traditions have been pointing to this mystery for thousands of years. They call it by different names: Brahma, Tao, Buddha, the kingdom of heaven. But they were all describing the same thing you visit every night in deep sleep. The Upanishads spoke of 4 states of consciousness: waking, dreaming, deep sleep, and the 4th, Turiya. This 4th state isn't really a state at all, but the unchanging awareness that witnesses all the other states. The screen on which to move is waking, dreaming, and sleeping. What the sages discovered is that this witnessing is this pure consciousness that remains conscious in experiences. This is what you actually are. Not the temporary wave of personality, but the eternal ocean of being itself. They realized that the journey into sleep each night is actually a journey home. A return to your original nature, your true self, your deepest identity. Not the small self with its endless problems and pursuits, but the vast self that has no problems because it has no boundaries. Zen masters put it beautifully. They said enlightenment is like awakening from a dream in which you dreamed you were someone other than who you really are. And what you really are is what remains when all the dreaming stops. Pure awareness, infinite potential, consciousness without limits. This is why meditation traditions often focus on the transition into sleep. They're trying to stay conscious while the ego dissolves, to witness the very process you experience unconsciously every night. To see directly how the individual self arises from and dissolves back into the universal consciousness. The secret they discovered is this: you don't need to achieve enlightenment. You need to recognize what you already are, what you've always been, what you experience most purely every night when you stop pretending to be someone else. So, what does this mean for how you live your daily life? Well, it changes everything and nothing at all. You still wake up, still brush your teeth, still go about your business, but now you know something profound about what's really happening. You begin to see that this person you think you are, with all its dramas and desires, its fears and fantasies, is no more permanent than a character in last night's dream. Fascinating, yes. Engaging, certainly. But ultimately, just another temporary appearance in consciousness. This doesn't make life meaningless. Quite the opposite. It makes every moment infinitely precious, because you're no longer trying to get somewhere else, become someone else, achieve something else. You begin to recognize that what you've been seeking through all your pursuits and struggles is what you already are in your deepest being. You start to live with what I call divine carelessness, caring deeply about life while holding lightly to outcomes. Like an actor who plays their role with complete commitment while never forgetting it's just a play. The next time you lie down to sleep, instead of treating it as mere rest, recognize it as a sacred journey. You're about to dissolve back into your true nature, to experience what the mystics spend lifetimes seeking, unity with the Absolute. And you do this every single night, as naturally as breathing. And when you wake each morning, instead of immediately grabbing onto your identity, try staying in that spacious awareness for just a moment longer. Feel how vast and peaceful you are before you become someone again. This is meditation, not something you do, but what you naturally are when you stop doing so much. Remember, consciousness is not something you have, you are something consciousness is doing. And every night, in the mystery of sleep, consciousness takes a vacation from being you, and simply enjoys being itself.
What a marvelous cosmic truth that the deepest spiritual realization is something you experience
Every single night,
and wake up
getting every single morning.
But now you know.
Knowing this,
How can you ever
this dream,
of being someone
quite so seriously
again?
You being a life, a dream so convincing that the dreamer completely forgets they're dreaming. The mystics have always known this. That's why they speak of awakening, not awakening from sleep, but awakening from the dream of being a separate self. Awakening to what you discover every night in deep sleep. that you are not a person having consciousness, but consciousness itself, playing at being a person. What I've been sharing with you isn't new, you know. The ancient traditions have been pointing to this mystery for thousands of years. They call it by different names: Brahman, the Tao, Buddha nature, the kingdom of heaven within. But they were all describing the same thing you visit every night in deep sleep. The Upanishads spoke of 4 states of consciousness: waking, dreaming, deep sleep, and the 4th, Turiya. This 4th state isn't really a state at all, but the unchanging awareness that witnesses all the other states, the screen on which the movies of waking, dreaming, and sleeping all play. What the sages discovered is that this witnessing awareness, this pure consciousness that remains constant through all your changing experiences, this is what you actually are. Not the temporary wave of personality, but the eternal ocean of being itself. They realize that the journey into sleeping tonight is actually a journey home, a return to your original nature, your true self, your deepest identity. Not the small self with its endless problems and pursuits, but the vast self that has no problems because it has no boundaries. The Zen masters put it beautifully. They said enlightenment is like awakening from a dream in which you dreamed you were someone other than who you really are. And what you really are is what remains when all the dreaming stops. Pure awareness, infinite potential, consciousness without limits. This is why meditation positions often focus on the transition to sleep. They're trying to stay conscious while the ego dissolves, to witness the very process you experience unconsciously every night. To see directly how the individual self arises from and dissolves back into the universal consciousness. The secret is this. You need to recognize what you already are, what you've always been, what you experience most purely,
When you stop pretending.
So, what does this mean for how you live your daily life? Well, it changes everything and nothing at all. You still wake up, still brush your teeth, still go about your business. But now you know something profound about what's really happening. You begin to see that this person you think you are, with all its dramas and desires, its fears and fantasies, is no more permanent than the character in last night's dream. Fascinating, yes. Engaging, certainly. But ultimately,
Just another temporary
difference in consciousness.
This doesn't make life meaningful.
Quite the opposite. It makes
Every moment infinite because you're no longer trying to get somewhere else, become someone else,
something else.
Recognize that what you've been through, all your pursuits and struggles already are in your deepest. You start
With what I call divine carelessness. Caring deeply life while feeling like outcome. Like an actor plays their role with complete commitment while never forgetting it's just a day. Next time you long to sleep, instead of treat as a sacred. You're all back to your nature. What the mystic bend life from some absolute. And you do this every single night, as naturally as naturally. When instead of immediately grabbing onto your identity, stay on that space longer. Feel how vast and peaceful you are before you become something again. This is meditation, not something you do, but what you naturally are when you stop doing so much. Remember, consciousness is not something you have, you are something consciousness is doing. And every night, in the mystery of sleep, consciousness takes a vacation from being you, and simply enjoys being itself. What a marvelous cosmic joke, that the deepest spiritual realization is something you experience every single night, and wake up forgetting every single morning.